Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I have your attention? We're about to start session 3, for which I'm going to briefly introduce our moderator, Bob Sheil. So, Bob Sheil is a professor of architecture in design through production, director of technology and computing at the Bartlett School of Architecture, and co-founder of 16 Makers. But most recently, I just found out that he defines himself, and I quote, "I have the ambition to continue experimental and speculative momentum to be fulfilled through a diet of teaching, research, and practice, through varied means of designing, making, and writing." I have the feeling that people misunderstand what a diet means, and they think it's about losing things that we don't need, right? I would argue that a diet is about making people conscious of being healthier and fitter, and I'm eager to discover the particular ingredients in your design diet for us.
Well, that's a lovely introduction. Thanks. I've just been on an amazing tour to Barcelona, China, and Europe, and presently the subject of diet in my family household is more to do with the appearance of an extension in this zone. One of the other kind of capacities of which I stand before you today that I'm particularly relate to is I am one of the rejected workshop cluster proposers. Just to prove there is no favoritism at all in the smart geometry culture. I couldn't swing any favors at all to get in, and it just shows you what a very integral process it is. Director of History of Technology and Computing at the Bartlett gets rejected. But my role here really is of course, to introduce the panel for this discussion. I think, first of all, though, I really would like to, applaud the title of the conference. I think constructing for uncertainty is something we've always done, but maybe kind of have ignored the fact that it's out there as a continuum. It's great to have it as a core focus subject. I think the other thing that we're aware of is that there's a number of other conversations that go on in this arena, and that the Acadia deadline this week was really fascinating timing. And I'm sure if any of you missed it, you could just write Omar an email saying, "I smart geometry, that's the reason I'm late," if you want to get your papers in. And I think, and many of you are the same people that go to these events, to Fabricate, Robark, and Acadia. And I think it's also fascinating for me to see some people stand up and present from firms or institutions they've swapped from the previous firms or institutions they used to work in. So this is a really rich network of moving between places. Smart geometry seems to bring a community together that shares intellectual kind of pursuits, and I'm very, very pleased to be here. The session's called From Virtual to Actual. And it's, evidence of that will be seen in the workshops. If any of you had the fun to go around Waite's House or the Ear Hospital yesterday, you will have seen the most wonderful state of organized mayhem, which is central to the culture of any design institution. I haven't seen the Bartlett look so filthy and messy and chaotic for quite some time, and that's a great, great thing. I think it's something right at the moment while we're redesigning this space, we must remember creative mess is an important thing to facilitate. So some of the questions that are going to be churned up in this session are around the notion of how systemic relations of the virtual come to the actual. What is the role of computation in architecture and in fabrication, which is clearly a subject of real great interest to me. What is the role, or one might say, what is the shifting role of the architect stroke designer, and I might add to that, maker? And how does robotic fabrication alter the process that involves the various partners of construction? So these are some questions that we're going to explore today. I'm going to call up the speakers in a little different order, so that I'll call Mark up at the end so he comes straight and does his presentation first. So I'd like to call forward Sarah Klomps as one of our first speakers. She's an associate architect at Zaha Hadid. She's participated in many of the practice's seminal works, including the Rosenthal Center for Contemporary Art in Cincinnati and the Fino Research Center in Wolfsburg, and the London Aquatics Center for the 2012 Olympic Games. We're very proud that Sarah also is a tutor at the Bartlett in a technical capacity, and the students have benefited enormously from her expertise in practice. Second, I'd like to call up Daniel Bozia. Many of you will know Daniel, of course, structural engineer at AKT, formerly head of the Advanced Geometry Unit in Arup, and head of the PART team at AKT, and a key player in the whole arena of engineering and design innovation. Two panelists are joining the group. They're not going to talk, but they're going to ask questions. First of all, Dirk Krowalowski. I hope I've done a good job of your surname again. A bit better than the last time, Dirk. Yeah, oh dear. Well, I can blame the typist, sorry. Dirk's from Rogers Stuck Harbour and Partners, but also runs his own practice in collaboration with a colleague, and is a lecturer in innovative technology and design at the Bartlett, is the project architect for the building known as the Cheese Grater. So Dirk, if you'd like to join the podium. And then Mirko Becker. I'd like to call Mirko Becker from KPF, Computational Geometry Group. His interest in computational geometry was forged back at Foster and Partners Specialist Modeling Group. So he's someone who's been very, very key to the whole smart geometry evolution over these past number of years. And then I'm also joined by Jose, before we get on to the last one. Yeah, don't forget you, Jose. You're important in here. He's got the best name of the entire list, Jose Luis Garcia del Castillo. I love that. Bob Sheil looks so boring next to that name. But an architect and a computational designer from Harvard GSD, founder of Parametric Camp, a part of the Smart Geometry Planning Committee. So welcome, Jose. And finally, Mark Burry. Everyone will know Mark, but it has to be said who he is and where he comes from. Director of the Spatial Information Architectural Laboratory at RMIT. He holds a whole host of senior academic positions across the globe, a member of the advisory board of Geary Technologies, and of course the great influence and project leader at the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona.